Hi, this is David Johnston, and this is Real Estate Loan Underwriting, Chapter 10. And remember, when we're talking about real estate underwriting, we're actually underwriting two pieces of the puzzle on the loan request. One is the borrower. Do they have good credit? Do they have good income? Do they have enough money to close? And the other is a property. Is it worth what they're saying it's worth? Because a lender will only lend on the appraised value or sales price, whichever is less. So if you have a sales price of $300,000, but the appraisal comes in at $250,000, then somebody has to make up that difference. The lender is going to treat the value of that property as the $250,000 of the appraised value. In underwriting, we are going to make sure that the collateral has good value. Collateral means what's security for the debt, and the house is security for the debt. If the people go into foreclosure and we need to pull the property back, do we have good value in that property? The other thing we're looking at is the borrower. Do they have the 3 C's? And remember this for your project, because you're going to be identifying the 3 C's of your borrower. Do they have good credit? Do they have good repayment history? Do they have experience in credit? Do they have the capacity? Do they have the income and the assets to close on the loan? With the income, remember we're working debt to income ratios, so you're going to take their gross debt to, or gross income and divide it into the payments that they have, and those payments will include the new house payment and also their other bills. The collateral we've been talking about is the appraised value of the property, because that property will be the collateral or security for the debt if somebody has to foreclose on them. So the definition of value. Value in use means, is it used for its proper use? Is it the highest and best value? For example, a value that's probably not highest and best might be a single-family residence, its own single-family, that's in a commercial area. Is that highest and best used? Should that be converted to a commercial endeavor where it's going to start generating income? What's the value in exchange or the market value? What are their comparables? Other homes that are selling in the area, are they like values? Are they like square footage? How do you compare? Let's look at a property profile. Here's a property that's out in El Cajon, and these are recent sales that you're going to compare to. And you'll also do this in a simpler way on your project. For example, you're going to look at the square footage of your subject property, which is 1207 square feet, and you're going to try to compare it to like square footages. For example, you probably wouldn't compare this 2,500 square feet. It's too big. I may look at this one and notice 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, and this property is like 3 bedrooms and 2 baths, so it's pretty close. This one's a little smaller, so you may give a square footage adjustment to this 305 and give this one a little more value. Likewise, you may come down to this one here on Clark, which is the 315. It's a bigger square footage. You may knock down some square footage. And also, too, look over here, it's got an extra bedroom. So if you were going to compare this to this subject property, what you may do is give a adjustment for the square footage, since this one is bigger, and also knock off one of the bedrooms. In your project, I'm saying about $5,000 for a bedroom. So in this case, I might take this price and knock it down to $310, plus knock off a little bit for the square footage adjustment, and then come in with a value similar to this up here, somewhere around the 305 range. So that's what you'll do on your project too. However, I don't have you do much square footage. In fact, I don't think I have you do it at all. Just go ahead and compare bedrooms and baths. And I gave you an estimate for bedrooms and baths to make a comparable or an adjustment of your comparables to try to match that of the subject property. So the appraisal is an estimate of the property at a specific point in time. In fact, today they like to see it around 4 months. Anything older than that is too old and they don't want to use it because it's got to be currently, does it have value, and it will be a good security for the debt. In the appraisal, there's different types of appraisals you can use. Normally a drive-by appraisal is probably going to be used for a refinance, nothing else. In determining the appraisal problem, meaning what am I trying to do? I'm trying to support this sale that's coming on, support the sales price or the value. So I have to determine the purpose of the appraisal, how I'm going to do that. In most cases today in residential, you're going to go out and see just what we did and look for comparables that I can compare to my subject property and try to support that sales price. So I want to connect, I want to collect pertinent data. I'm probably going to go to the MLS, multiple listing service. I may also go to a title company's profile, like I just pulled out here, to come up with some recent closings. And then, as we just did, we'll reconcile some values. Are the bedrooms the same? Is the square footage the same? And then I'll go ahead and prepare the report. Different types of appraisal approaches. The most common to use in residential is a comparable approach, where you're going to compare recent sales. You can also do a cost approach, where you break it down and say, what would it be for me to acquire that lot and rebuild that property and come up with a value, and that's called a cost approach. You can also use an income approach, and that's used for commercial properties because they're dealing on capitalization rates, or how much I'm going to earn from my investment on this commercial property. I'm looking at cash flow and how much I want to make. Based on the income I'm going to produce, what kind of return on investment do I want? That. Here's what that can look like. Say, for example, somebody is buying a house for $300,000, and they're going to put 10% down, and their interest rate is going to be, say, 4%. Here's their principal and interest. Of course, they have mortgage insurance, property taxes, hazard insurance, total payment. Okay. Their loan amount at 90% is going to be $270,000. They put $30,000 down, and here's their closing costs. Now let's see how we calculate the debt-to-income ratios. I'll make up a borrower here. And say that they make, or this person makes $40,000 a year. And spouse makes $2,000. And then let's throw some debts in here. Say they have a car payment of about $400, and they have credit card payments that total of about $125 a month. So now I've got gross monthly income, and I've got debts, and on the other page, I have a house payment. So if you look up here in these smiling faces, I'm getting close to the upper end of debt-to-income ratio, but I'm probably okay depending on their credit. I've got a 33 debt-to-income ratio, which means their gross monthly income divided by this payment, and a total debt-to-income ratio of almost 43, which is their gross monthly income divided by this payment plus 525 divided by 5333. So that comes up with their debt-to-income ratio. And when you do your project, I want to see that. Go ahead and show me what your math is and how you came up with the debt-to-income ratio. So in a quick overview, that is Chapter 10. And any questions, go ahead and email me through the site or use the discussion board and post a question. We'll try to answer it for you.